kick it off here today. First day of ProMat 2025. We are literally 12 minutes into the show here, starting off the week, and we have to start it with some energy. So, of course, our first guest of the week for ProMat is Ryan Lynch, Senior Vice President, Strategy and Marketing at Concentric. Ryan, how are you?
Great, man. Good to see you. I love the pun. Any power puns, we're here for that.
Yeah, we're bringing the power, we're bringing the energy. We're swapping the batteries, right?
That's right. That's right.
We're doing all the things around energy today. So Ryan, tell us, tell us, I'm not going to ask you how's the show so far because it's only been 12 minutes, right? But tell me, what are you excited for about this week at the show?
Yeah, one, I think when you look around, there's more here today than there ever has been, right? The show continues to grow. The impact we're making to manufacturing and distribution operations continues to make it a better place for people to work and a better place for our customers. We're excited because we're in the kind of second year of Power Hive, and we're at the point of proven productivity. We hit a huge milestone of 100,000 battery reloads last week.
Oh, wow.
So I think we have a lot of customers coming back that came last year. They were kicking tires. This year they're saying, okay, it's time. So really excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great point, right? The show has grown, right? We saw at Modex last year, they added another hall this year. We're in a different hall. We're in Lakeside here, which is actually a very beautiful view if you go outside, right? Yeah. So it's great to have you here joining us, definitely. So I guess let's kick it off here. Maybe if people are not familiar with Concentric, I think we teased a little bit. That has some energizing behind it, right? But tell us a little bit about Concentric.
Yeah, so Concentric's been in the electrification of material handling power, material handling equipment and automation, and then critical power for the last 25 years. So anything that has to do with a forklift, a reach truck, anything you're automating, we're going to be supporting that either through maintenance or deploying those systems. And then also on the critical power side, which is a growing part of a manufacturer or distribution leader's thought process. We're helping them with on-site generation, backup generation, energy storage, solar, even electrical distribution, UPS.
Oh, wow. Okay. So covering kind of the gamut there of power and energy in the space, right? And now tell us a little bit about, because there's a lot going on, I think, with power, right? There's a lot of talk about sustainability too as well. We have the sustainability theater right down the aisle here from us as well. But tell us kind of what's happening in power and energy around material handling right now.
Well, so, it's interesting. The world is converging again around digital, right? We got this idea that was coined a long time ago called Industry 4.0, which includes automation, but also includes data centers and communications infrastructure. And so some of our other customers, like our data center customers and our communications customers, they've been investing in energy in a different level for a very long time. And that is now happening in our space. For the first time in 2 decades, really a generation of leaders in utilities, power demand is on the skyrocket rise, driven predominantly by the AI revolution, right? People are like Microsoft and Google and Amazon are putting in massive systems, massive cloud AI to train AI for generative AI. And that's having an impact on all of us,
right? Because
now power is no longer just available. It's becoming a constraint, or for some customers, a competitive advantage and an accelerant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very interesting because we see, like you said, these technological advancements continuing, right? And but what's driving a lot of that is power, right? Is needed to be able to drive that. So now tell us a little bit about, from I guess the forklift perspective, right, in general, because I know here one of the big solutions you showcased, and then you were showcasing last year at Modex when we talked to, is the Power Hive, which you just mentioned has done 100,000 battery swaps. Is that what you said?
That's right.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, from the technology side, on material handling power, specifically around forklifts and equipment.
Yeah. I think the first thing is the backdrop of what's happening in our world, right? If you think about a lot of our brethren here that are supply chain leaders, they're dealing with more volatility today than they were almost in COVID, right? Volatility and uncertainty is growing. And so putting in systems that, as we were talking earlier, give you optionality,
right,
and keep you resilient is becoming more important for customers. They're starting to plan that volatility is the norm. And so with Power Hive, what we've done is we've said, look, it doesn't matter what equipment you want to run when. We're going to simplify down to one battery size per voltage. And you can put this system in for as small as 20 forklifts. And you can get the benefit of lithium battery, the full benefit.
Right.
And while at the same time owning your infrastructure and being able to swap whenever you want. So you can take the operator totally out of the power equation. They never have to think about it again.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, and I think it's very cool, and I saw it operating yesterday when I was leaving the hall after setup, and it's very cool. Saw it last year too, and I think it's a great solution. But I guess explain to us what it's all about, and the Power Hive itself, because it's essentially a robotic arm, right? That's swapping batteries, right?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we started putting lithium in 7-8 years ago, and we've been at this for 25 years with a program called Guaranteed Power, where you just pay a monthly fee and your power works. And so we got really excited when we started putting lithium in, and lithium's the Rolls Royce, right? Yeah. And you put it in, and it's just supposed to go forever. Well, the reality is sometimes it becomes a paperweight. Sometimes a battery has a problem. So what do you do? What happens if somebody doesn't maintain it right or charge it right? So what we did is we took us back 25 years and said, you know what, that battery room idea with lead acid makes a ton of sense now that I have a clean offering like lithium. Right? I can shrink the battery compartment size down, and I can get to one battery size per truck across all my equipment. And I can put this in, I can reduce the amount of electrical drops that I have, I can save space, and I can, at a push of a button, get new power, right? It's what we should be doing with cars, frankly, right? I should be driving up to a gas station, I should be pushing a button, and 2 minutes later I should have a fresh battery. Well, now you have that with forklifts. Since 70% of forklifts are electrified today. Yeah. Right? If you own your own infrastructure, of course you would want a swap situation. The financials just make sense every time.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think that's a great point about cars too, right? Because I had an electric vehicle, but it was kind of like, oh, and I got to charge it. It takes a long time, right? So, I mean, I think it's very interesting the way you're approaching it and looking at it and combining kind of maybe that traditional idea of battery swapping, right? But with the new battery technology and the lithium, which I think is really great. So now tell us a little bit about, because you just kind of launched Power Hive about a year ago, right, or so?
To the market. So we've been in launch customers for several years.
Okay.
But we brought it publicly at Modex last year.
Yeah, and so, and you've done 100,000 battery swaps, what you just said, right? So tell us a little bit about kind of what have been some of the learnings there over that time, and how have maybe customers reacted to it, saw improvements, adjusted with it? I mean, what have you learned there?
Yeah, sometimes you work really hard, and you have these visions of what could happen, and then you get a little lucky along. You kind of make your luck. I mean, we've always had this DNA of when we put something in, let's impact their people for safety and environment, their enjoyment. Let's impact the planet. But we got to impact their profits. We got to deliver sustainable financial offerings, right? And sometimes those get out of balance when there's subsidies and some other things that happen. But what customers are coming back with really quickly, I mean, we did one a couple weeks ago where I walked in, they'd had it for 4 months, and I had people coming up to me and saying, I haven't had to call anybody for 4 months. Oh, wow. This thing just runs. Yeah. And everybody wanted to be in a video, and they wanted to talk about it, and they were just so excited. They named the robot because now the operator, they can do their job every day. They don't have to think about power anymore. So the people element and the safety of not having to do these massive plug-ups, right, is a big deal. But it's 2 minutes, and I'm back to work. At a planet level, right, you're depending on what you're putting in and what you're changing out, you're saving swimming pools worth of water for 20 trucks. You're saving enormous amount of energy. You also now have a demand response tool, which is really about peak power management, which is something some customers are starting to understand a little bit more about. So you can really manage when you charge, and then you can extend the life of those batteries even longer because you're managing when they get charged and how fast they get charged. You don't need as big a chargers, that kind of thing. And then finally, profits, right? I think this is the place where we knew, because we've been doing this a long time, that it would impact productivity, but we have customers putting this in. It's a 3-day install. There's no IT integration. It's a 10-minute training with their people, and then you're up. Yeah. Within the first week, their pallet throughput, their each throughput KPIs are going up 5 and 10%.
Wow.
And so, we're not changing anything about their operation. We're just taking out steps that were unnecessary, and they're getting massive impact at a productivity level. It also is saving space, so customers that have value there, it's reducing power. There's a bunch of different knock-on benefits. Some people are starting to scale back equipment, the amount of equipment they have, that kind of thing.
Interesting, yeah. And I think that's great to hear all those benefits, and certainly that improvement, and the fact that it's, I think, opening up the eyes of the customer too a little bit, and their minds about what maybe is possible and what they can do with those types of things. So really exciting to hear that, and kind of that progress as well. So now, before we let you go, tell us a little bit about kind of what's next for Concentric.
Yeah, I mean, so we talked a little bit about power and the change, but really, if you're a customer here today, the biggest thing that's happening is you have more complexity in your operations today than you've ever had, and it's only going to continue, both in your operations and in your equipment and in your infrastructure and your automation, but also outside in the world. Right now that we've got this power demand challenge, you really have to pull that utility closer.
Yeah.
We're moving from a top-down power world to a shared distributed energy world, right? And that's critical infrastructure as well as power. And so we've really, we've got 3 main groups organized to help customers. We've got on the electrification side around forklifts, forklift power, automation. Then on the critical power side, we talked about, power distribution, electrical, and then as well as on-site generation, resilience, energy storage. And then finally, we're moving to a world where generalized maintenance has a really hard time managing all of this with just their own staff. And so we're deploying specialized, dedicated resources and a whole real franchise around each of these different equipment types, whether it be automation, forklifts, docks and doors, or your critical power, to help customers kind of cut back on some things. So when they make these investments in these massive, great automation systems, they actually get the full benefit out of them.
Yeah. Wow. And I think that's great too. And I think that, the more we excel on the power technology, and the more we increase our power demand too. I mean, it's great to be able to see that and figure out how do we manage that and how do we get around that. It sounds like you guys are addressing some of those challenges and allowing that to happen. So really, really interesting stuff with you here, Ryan, and looking forward to meeting you over at your booth a little later today. So if people at home want to learn more about Concentric, what's the best way to do that? And if people are coming in later today, coming in tomorrow, Tuesday, where can they find you?
So come to the booth. We've got the full system is running live. We can drop that in a customer tomorrow. It's the real thing. But I would tell you, don't take my word for it. Go to the Performance Food Group is one of our customers.
Sure.
Tom Buchko, who runs their warehousing and automation, he's speaking this week, tomorrow. I would go to that. He's got a really amazing story around how they do innovation in general. That I think any customer will get something out. He's been at this a while, but then he'll also talk about what implementing Power Hive has done for him in his operations. He may even get into what they're doing from an energy management standpoint, because more and more customers are bulking up their energy management teams.
All right, great. And we'll definitely put all that information up on the New Warehouse podcast as well. So, Ryan, thank you so much for coming by the booth. Thank you for the great hat on the perfect day to wear this hat. Appreciate it. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and we'll see you a little later over at the booth.
Thanks, Kevin. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
All right. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video here on our YouTube channel, the New Warehouse podcast, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video in particular, make sure you like it as well. And if you want to get this great t-shirt that you see in the video behind me, Warehouses Are Sexy, head to warehousesAreSexy.com and get your own.